let's get started. We wanted to try something new this week. Every week, I get a little upset. Things perturb me, Sax. And when it does, I just yell and scream, Disgraziad! And so I bought the domain name Disgraziad.com for no reason other than my own amusement. But you know what? I'm not alone in my absolute disgust at what's going on in the world. So this week, we're going to bring out a new feature here on the All-In Podcast, Disgraziad Corner.
Disgraziad.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
You can act like a man. What's the matter with you?
He's just killed in manners.
You insulted him a little bit.
I'm smacked and I want the sketch.
What's the matter with you? Your hair was in the toilet water. Disgusting.
I ought to suffocate you, you little... It's a fucking disgrace.
Disgraziad.
Disgraziad.
This is fantastic.
This is our new feature. Chamath, you look like you're ready to go. Why don't you tell everybody who gets your Disgraziad this week?
Wait, we all had to come with a Disgraziad?
You really, you missed the memo. All right, fine. Enough.
I got one.
Okay, all right, just calm down.
My Disgraziad corner goes to Jason Calacanis.
Oh, here we go. Come on, man, you can't.
And Pete Buttigieg, where they, in the first 30 seconds of the interview, compared virtue signaling points about how each one worked at various moments at Amnesty International.
Absolutely.
Literally affecting zero change, making no progress in the world, but collecting a badge that they use to hold over other people. Disgraziad.
We wrote a lot of letters.
Disgraziad.
Which is good. That means it's like a good one because it's behind the scenes. Disgraziad.
Jason Calacanis and Pete Buttigieg. Disgraziad.
Great. I'm glad that I get the first one. And you can imagine what's coming next week for you. I saw the Sydney Sweeney dress today trending on social. Disgraziad. It's too much.
What?
It's too much.
What is it? I didn't even know what this is.
You didn't see it? Nick,
Bring it
pull
up,
up a
Nick.
picture. Okay.
Bring it up.
It's a little floppy.
Che il vestito è troppo.
How is this
The
Disgraziad?
dress
What are you
is
talking
too
about?
much. It's disgraceful. A little bit of, look at this. Oh my God. Too much.
It's elegant.
Too much. In my day, Sax, a little cleavage, maybe. Perhaps in the 90s or 2000s, some side view. This is too much.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Very highbrow subject matter.
Sorry, we were discussing world politics and the Sydney Sweeney dress. I don't know who's trending on X.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad. Put away the phone, Jason.
Let your winners ride.
Rain Man David Sack.
And it said we open source it to the fans, and they've just gone crazy with it.
Love you, West. Queen of Kinwa.
What's going on with the algorithm? I'm getting Sydney Sweeney's dress all day, and last week, Sax.
Well, maybe you should stop favoriting it.
I favorited 15 times. And then Sax, poor Sax got invited to SlutCon for 2 weeks straight on the algorithm.
No, I say the algorithm has become. If you demonstrate,
Sax will explain.
I can't even tell if that's a joke or a real thing.
It's a real thing in San Francisco.
it's all too real.
Oh, it's actually real. Like, wait,
Yeah.
SlutCon is for
What
real?
I've noticed, if you demonstrate interest
This is-
in anything on X now, if you click on it, God forbid you like something, man, the algorithm is
drive-by.
on it. It will give you more of that. It will give you a lot more.
Yes. So we did have an issue. We still have somewhat of an issue where there was an important bug that was figured out that was solved over the weekend, which caused in-network posts to be not shown. So you basically, if you followed someone, you wouldn't see their posts.
Got it.
It's obviously a big bug, the major bug. Then the algorithm was not probably taking into account if you just dwelt on something. But if you interacted with it, it would go hog wild. So if you pay, as David said, if you were to favorite, reply, or engage with it in some way, it is going to get you a torrent of that same thing.
Oh, Sachs. So maybe you...
Sachs, what was
Did
your
you
interaction?
Did you bookmark Slucon? I think you bookmarked it.
Here's what I thought was good about it, though, is all of a sudden I would see...
If you happen to switch Sydney Sweeney's boobs,
yeah,
then you're going to get a lot more of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
But what I thought was good about it was that you would see who else had a take on the same subject matter. And that actually has been a useful part of it.
Yeah.
And so you get more of a like a 360 view on whatever it is that you're showing interest in.
Yeah. It's like it was giving you, if you take you'd have like, it was just going too far, obviously. It was overcorrecting. It had too much gain on, it just turned up the gain way too high on any interaction you would then get a torrent of that. It's like, oh, you had a taste of it. We're going to give you 3 helpings. Okay. We're going to force you with it. We're going to give you the food funnel.
And that's all being done. I assume it's all being done with Grok now. So it's not like the old hard-coded algorithm, or is it using Grok?
Well, what's happening is that we're gradually deleting the legacy Twitter heuristics. Now, the problem is that it's like as you delete these heuristics, it turns out the one heuristic, the one bug was covering for the other bug. And so when you delete one side of the bug, it's like that meme with the internet where there's like this very complicated machine and there's like a tiny little wooden stick that's keeping it going, which was, I guess, AWS East or whatever, had something like that. When somebody pulled out the little stick, that there was, what's this thing?
I think it'd be good if it
half of Earth,
It would be great if it showed like one person you follow and then like it blended the old style, which was just reverse chronological of your friends, the original version, with this new version. So you get like a little bit of both.
Well, you still have everyone still has the following tab.
Yeah.
Now, something we're going to be adding is the ability to have a curated following tab, because the problem is, like, if you follow some people and they're maybe a little more prolific than you're,
Scoble.
Well,
Robert Scoble.
You follow someone and some people are much more, say a lot more than others. That makes the following tab hard to use. So we're going to add an option where you can have the following tab be curated. So Grok will say, what are the most interesting things posted by your friends? And it will show you that in the following tab. It will also give you the option of literally seeing everything. But I think having that option will make the following tab much more useful. So it'll be a curated list of people you follow, ideally the most interesting stuff that they've said, which is kind of what you want to look at. And then we've mostly fixed the bug, which would give you way too much of something if you interacted with a particular subject matter. And then the really big change, which is where Grok literally reads everything that's posted to the platform. Which we're actually, there's about 100 million posts per day. So it's 100 million pieces of content per day. And I think that's actually maybe just in English. I think it goes beyond that if it's outside of English. So Grok is we're going to start off reading really what Grok thinks are the top 10 million of the 100 million. And it will actually read them and understand them and categorize them and match them to users. It's like, this is not a job humans could ever do. And then once that is scaling reasonably well, we'll add the entire 100 million a day. So it's literally going to read through 100 million things and show you the things that it thinks out of 100 million posts per day, what are the most interesting posts to you.
How much of Colossus will that take? Like,
a lot of work.
Yeah, that's like, is it tens of thousands of servers, like, to do that every day?
Yeah, my guess is it's probably on the order of 50K H100, something like that.
Wow. And that will replace search. So you'll be able to actually search on Twitter and find things in like with a plain language.
We'll have semantic search where you can just ask a question and it will show you all content, whether that is text, pictures, or video that matches your search query semantically.
How's it been? 3 years in. It was a 3-year anniversary, like a couple days
Is it 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember it was Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween's back.
Halloween's back, but it was the weekend you took over was Halloween.
Yeah.
We had a good time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years.
Where will things be 3 years from now?
Yeah. What's the takeaway? 3 years later, you obviously don't regret buying it. It's saved free speech. That was good. Seemed to have turned that whole thing around. That was, I think, a big part of your mission. But then you added it to XAI, which makes it incredibly valuable as a data source. So when you look back on it, the reason you bought it is to stop crazy woke mind virus and make truth exist in the world again. Great, mission accomplished. And now it has this great future.
Yeah, we've got community notes. You can also ask Grok about anything you see on the platform. You just press the Grok icon on any text post, and we'll analyze it for you, and research it as much as you want. So you can basically have just by tapping the Grok icon, you can assess the whether that post is the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth, or whether there's something supplemental you need to be explained. So I think it's actually, we've made a lot of progress towards freedom of speech, and people being able to tell whether something is false or not false. You know, propaganda. The recent update to Grok is actually, I think, very good at piercing through propaganda. And then we used that latest version of Grok to create Grokkipedia, which I think is much more. It's not just, I think, more neutral and more accurate than Wikipedia, but it actually has a lot more information than a Wikipedia page.
Did you seed it with Wikipedia? Actually, take a step back. How did you do this?
Well, we used AI.
But meaning like totally unsupervised, just a complete training run on its own, totally synthetic data, no seeded set, nothing.
Well, it was only just recently possible for us to do this. So we finished training on a maximally truth-seeking, a version of Grok that is good at cogent analysis. So breaking down any given argument into its axiomatic elements, assessing whether those axioms are not, the basic test for cogency. The axioms are likely to be true. They're not contradictory. That the conclusion the conclusion most likely follows from those axioms. So we're just trained Grok on a lot of critical thinking. So it just got really good at critical thinking, which was quite hard. And then we took that version of Grok and said, okay, cycle through the million most popular articles in Wikipedia and add, modify, and delete. So that means research the rest of the internet, whatever's publicly available, and correct the Wikipedia article, so fix mistakes, but also add a lot more context. So sometimes really the nature of the propaganda is that facts are stated that are technically true, but do not properly represent a picture of the individual or event.
This is critical because when you have a bio, as you do, actually we all do, on Wikipedia, over time, it's just the people you fired or you beat in business or have an axe to grind. So it just slowly becomes like the place where everybody, kind of who hates you then puts their information. I looked at mine. It was so much more representative, and it was 5 times longer, 6 times longer. And what it gave weight to was much more accurate, more accurate. And this opportunity was sitting here, I think, for a long time. And it's just great that you got to it because they don't update my page, but, I don't know, twice a month with, and then who is the secret cabal? There's 50 people who are anonymous who decide what gets put on it. It was a much better, much more updated page in version 1.
Yes, this is version 0.1 as we show at the top. So I do think actually by the time we get to version 1.0, it'll be 10 times better. But even at this early stage, as you just mentioned, it's not just that it's correcting errors, but it is creating a more accurate, realistic, and fleshed out description of people and events.
Elon, do you think that
and subject matters, like you can look at articles on physics in Grokpedia, they're much better than Wikipedia by far.
This is what I was going to ask you is like, do you think that you can take this corpus of pages now and get Google to deboost Wikipedia or boost Grokipedia in traditional search? Because a lot of people still find this and they believe that it's authoritative because it comes up number one, right? So how do we do that? How do you flip Google?
So it really can. If people share a lot of, if Grokipedia is used elsewhere, like if people cite it on their websites or post about it on social media, or when they do a search, when Grokipedia shows up, they click on Grokipedia, it will naturally, rise in Google's, rankings. I did text Sundar because, even sort of a day after launch, if you typed in Grokipedia, Google would just say, "Did you mean Wikipedia?"
Wikipedia, yeah.
And it wouldn't even bring Grokipedia up at all.
Yeah, that's true.
So now,
how's the usage been? Have you seen good growth since it launched?
It's
very early?
It went super viral. So we're seeing it cited all over the place. It's, and I think we'll see it used more and more. People as people refer to it, and people will judge for themselves. When you read a Grokipedia article about a subject or a person that you know a lot about, and you see, wow, this is way better than Wikipedia. It's more comprehensive. It's way more accurate. It's neutral instead of biased. Then you're going to forward those links around and say that this is actually the better source. Like Grokipedia will succeed, I think, very well because it is fundamentally a superior product to Wikipedia. It is a better source of information, and we haven't even added images and video yet. So
we're going to awesome.
We're going to add a lot of video. Using Grok Imagine to create videos, so if you're trying to explain something, Grok Imagine can take the text from Grokipedia and then generate a video, an explanatory video. So if you're trying to understand anything from how to tie a bow tie to how do certain chemical reactions work, or really anything, dietary things, medical things, Grok you can just go and see the video of how it works. That Elon, is created by AI.
When you have this version that's maximally truth-seeking as a model, do you think that there needs to be a better eval or a benchmark that people can point to that shows how off of the truth things are? So that if you're going to start a training run with Common Crawl, or if you're going to use Reddit, or if you're going to use... Is it important to be able to say, hey, hold on a second, this eval just suck, like you guys suck on this eval. Like it's just, this is crappy data.
Yeah, I guess I'm not, I think, there are a lot of evals out there. I've complete confidence that Grokpedia is going to succeed because Wikipedia is actually not a very good product.
Yeah.
It's the information is sparse, wrong, and out of date. And if you find it doesn't have, there are very few images. There's basically no video. So if you have something which is, accurate, comprehensive, has videos, where moreover you can ask if there's any part of it that you're curious about, you can just highlight it and Grok and ask Grok right there. Like if you're trying to learn something, it's just great. It's not going to be a little bit better than Wikipedia. It's going to be 100 times better than Wikipedia.
Elon, do you think you'll see good uniform usage? Like if you look back on the last 3 years since you bought Twitter, there was a lot of people after you bought Twitter that said, I'm leaving Twitter. Elon's bought it. I'm going to go to this other, wherever the hell they went. And there's all these news. And there's all these articles saying
What happened to that creature?
Yeah, but
blue sky is falling is my favorite.
I guess my question is, as you destroy the woke mind viral kind of control of the system, and as you bring truth to the system, whether the system is through Grokipedia or through X, do people like just look for confirmation bias and they actually don't accept the truth? Like, what do you like, or do you think people are actually going to see the truth and change?
They can't handle the truth.
Yeah. But I mean, is that like...
You thought Sydney Sweeney's boobs were great. Let me see mine.
Looking good. Yeah. Solid week up there.
Put a little sheer,
Yeah. I think we just got flagged on YouTube again.
Yeah, we did. That was definitely going to give us a censorship
PG-13.
moment.
Grade A moves.
Yeah. No, but do people change their mind? I mean...
There's no such thing as grade A move.
It's off the rails already. David, you were trying to ask a serious question. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to know if people change their mind. Like, can you actually change people's minds by putting the truth in front of them? Or do people just take, they kind of ignore the truth because they feel like they're in some sort of camp and they're like, I'm on this side.
They want the confirmation bias.
They want the confirmation bias and they want to stay in a camp and they want to be tribal about everything.
It is remarkable how much people believe things simply because it is the belief of their in group, whatever their sort of political or ideological tribe is. I mean, there's some pretty hilarious videos of and there was like some guy going around is like a racist Nazi or whatever, and he was like trying to show them the videos of the thing that they are talking about, where he is in fact condemning the Nazis in the strongest possible terms and condemning racism in the strongest possible terms, and they literally don't even want to watch the videos. So yeah, people, or at least some people, would prefer they will stick to whatever their ideological views are, whatever their sort of political tribal views are, no matter what. The evidence could be staring them in the face, and they're just going to be a flat earther. There is no evidence that you could show to a flat earther to convince them the world's round, because everything is just a lie. The world is flat, type of thing.
I think the ability to hit @Grok in a reply and ask it a question in the thread has really become like a truth-seeking missile on the platform. So when I put up metrics or something like that, I reply to myself and I say, @Grok, is the information I just shared correct? And can you find any better information? And please tell me if my argument is correct or if I'm wrong. And then it goes through and then it DMs Sachs, and then Sachs gets in my replies and tries to correct me. No, but it does actually a really good job of like, and that combined with community notes, now you've got like two swings at bat, the community's consensus view and then Grok coming in. I think it would be like really interesting if Grok on like really powerful threads kind of did like its own version of community notes and had it sitting there ahead of time. Like you could look at a thread and it just had next to it, or maybe on like the specific statistic, you could click on it and it would show you like, here's where that statistic's from.
I mean, pretty much essentially every post on X, unless it's like advertising or something, has the Grok symbol on it.
Yeah.
And you just tap that symbol and you're one tap away from a Grok analysis, literally just one tap. And we don't want to clutter the interface with where it's providing an explanation. But I'm just saying, if you go on X right now, it's one tap to get Grok's analysis, and Grok will research the X post and give you an accurate answer. And you can even ask it to do further research or further due diligence, and you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want to go. But I do think like this is consistent with, we want X to be the best source of truth on the planet by far, and I think it is. And where you hear any and all points of view, but where those points of view are corrected by human editors with community notes. And the essence of community notes is that people who historically disagree agree that this community note is correct. So this, and all of the community notes code is open source, and the data is open source. So you can recreate any community note from scratch. independently.
By and large, it's worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we originally had the idea to have you back on the pod because it was a 3-year anniversary of the Twitter acquisition. So
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of reminisce a little bit.
Oh,
And
sure.
I remember.
Where's that sink?
Where's that sink? Well, yeah. So Elon was staying at my house. We had talked the week before, and he told me the deal was going to close. And so I was like, hey, do you need a place to stay? And he took me up on it. And the day before he went to the Twitter office, there was a request made to my staff. Do you happen to have an extra sink? And they did not, but they were able to.
Yeah, who has an extra sink, really?
But they were able to locate one at a nearby hardware store, and I think they paid extra to get it out of the window or something.
Well, I think the store was confused because my security team was asking for any kind of sink, and like normally people wouldn't ask for any kind of sink because you need a sink that fits in your bathroom or connects to a certain kind of plumbing. So they're like trying to ask, he's like, well, what kind of faucets do you want? No, I just want a sink.
Yeah, they think it's a mental person calling.
The store was confused that we just wanted a sink.
Yes.
And didn't care what the sink connected to.
That was a really.
They were like almost not letting us buy the sink because they thought maybe we'd buy the wrong sink. You know, it's just rare that somebody wants a sink for sink's sake.
For meme purposes.
One of my favorite memories was Elon said, hey, swing by, check it out. I said, okay, I'll come by. And I drive up there and I'm looking where to park the car. And I realize there's just parking spaces around the entire building. And I'm like, okay, this can't be like legal parking, but I park and it's legal parking.
Yeah,
and
you're in downtown SF, so you might get your window broken. But...
Yeah, I might not be there when I get back. But we get in there and the place is empty. And then it was seriously empty, except for the cafeteria.
There was an entire, the Twitter headquarters was 2 buildings. One of the buildings was completely and utterly empty. And the other building had like 5% occupancy.
And in the 5% occupancy, we go to the cafeteria, we all go get something to eat. And we realize there's more people working in the cafeteria than at Twitter.
There were more people making the food than eating the food. In this giant cafeteria, this giant, really nice cafeteria. This is where we discovered that the actual price of the lunch was $400.
Yes.
The original price was $20, but it was at 5% occupancy, so it was 20 times higher, and they still kept making the same amount pretty much. So and charging the same amount. So effectively, lunch was $400.
That was a great meeting.
Yes, and then there was that where we had the initial meetings, sort of trying to figure out what the heck's going on meetings because there's the 2 buildings, 2 Twitter buildings, and the one with literally no one in it. That's where we had the initial meetings, and then we tried drawing on the whiteboard, and the markers had gone dry. So nobody had used the whiteboard markers in like 2 years.
So sad.
None of the markers worked. So we're like, this is totally bizarre. But it was totally clean because the cleaning crew had come in and done their job and cleaned an already clean place for 2-3 years straight.
It was spotless.
and I mean, honestly, this is more crazy than any sort of Mike Judge movie or Silicon Valley or anything like that. And then I remember going into the men's bathroom and there's a table with
hygiene,
menstrual hygiene products. Yeah.
Refreshed every week.
Tampons, like a fresh box of tampons. And we're like, but there's literally no one in this building. But no, it hadn't turned off the send fresh tampons to the men's bathroom in the empty building had not been turned off.
No.
So every week they would put a fresh box of tampons in an empty building for years. This happened for years. And it must have been very confusing to the people that were being asked to do this because they're like,
Okay, I'll throw them away.
Well, I remember when you
I guess they're paying us, so we'll just put tampon. So you just have to consider the string of possibilities necessary in order for anyone to possibly use that tampon in the men's bathroom at the unoccupied second building of Twitter headquarters, because you'd have to be a burglar who is a trans man burglar who's unwilling to use the women's bathroom that also has tampons.
Statistically
Even though there's
improbable.
no one in the building. So you've broken into the building. And at that moment, you have a period.
Yes, and you're on your period.
I mean, you're more likely to be struck by a meteor than need that tampon, okay?
Well, I remember it was, I think it was shortly after that, you discovered an entire room at the office that was filled with Stay Woke t-shirts.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
An entire pile of merch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag Stay Woke.
Stay woke.
And also a big sort of buttons, like those magnetic buttons that you put on your shirt that said, I am an engineer. I'm like, look, if you're an engineer, you don't need a button. Like a big...
Who's the button for? Who are you telling that to?
You could just ship code. we would know. We could check your GitHub.
But yeah, there were like scarves, hoodies, all kinds of merch that said hashtag Stay Woke.
Yeah. A couple of music
When you
rooms.
found that, I was like, my God, man, the barbarians are fully within the gates now. I mean,
the barbarians have smashed through the gates and are looting the merch.
yes, you are rummaging through their holy relics and defiling them.
I mean, but when you think about it, David, the amount of waste that we saw there during those first 30 days, just to be serious about it for a second, this was a publicly traded company.
Right.
So if you think about the financial duty of those individuals, there was a list of SaaS software we went through, and none of it was being used. Some of it had never been installed, and they had been paying for it for 2 years. They've been paying for a SaaS product for 2 years. And the one that blew my mind the most that we canceled was they were paying a certain amount of money per desk to have desk suiting software in an office where nobody came to work. So they were paying to route nobody.
There was millions of dollars a year being paid for analysis of pedestrian like software that used cameras to analyze the pedestrian traffic to figure out where you can alleviate pedestrian traffic jams in an empty building.
Right.
That's like 11 out of 10 on a Dilbert scale.
Yeah, it was pretty. Shout out Scott Adams.
You've gone off scale on your Dilbert level at that point.
Let's talk about the free speech aspect for a second, because I think that is the most important legacy of the Twitter acquisition. And I think people have short memories and they forget how bad things were 3 years ago. First of all, you had figures as diverse as President Trump, Jordan Peterson, Jay Bhattacharya, Andrew Tate. They were all banned from Twitter. And I remember when you opened up the Twitter jails and reinstated their accounts, kind of, freed all the bad boys of free speech.
Stormed the Bastille.
Yes. So you basically gave all the bad boys of free speech their accounts back. But second, beyond just the bannings, there was the shadow bannings. And Twitter had claimed for years that they were not shadow banning. This was a paranoid, conservative, conspiracy theorist. Yeah.
There was a very aggressive shadow banning by what was called the Trust and Safety Group, which, of course, naturally would be the one that is doing the nefarious shadow banning. And I just think you shouldn't have a group called Trust and Safety. I mean, this is an Orwellian name if there ever was one. I'm from the Trust Department. Yes. Oh, really?
We want to talk to you about your tweets.
Okay. Well,
Can we see your DMs?
Say that you're from the Trust Department. That's the Ministry of Truth right there.
Yeah.
And Twitter executives had they had maintained for years that they were not engaged in this practice, including under oath. And on the heels of you opening that up and exposing that, because, by the way, it wasn't just the fact they were doing it. They created an elaborate set of tools to do this. They had checkboxes.
Elaborate set of tools to deboost accounts. Yes.
Yes. And, subsequently we found out that other social networking properties have done this as well, but you were really the first to expose it.
This is still being done at the other social media companies, including Google, by the way. I don't pick on Google because they're all doing it, but for search results, if you simply push a result pretty far down the page, or the second page of results, like the joke used to be, or still is, I think, like, where do you hide what's the best place to hide a dead body? The second page of Google search results, because nobody ever goes to the second page of Google search results. So you could hide a dead body there, and nobody would find it. And you still have then it's not like you haven't made them go away. You've just put them on page 2.
Yes. So shadow banning, I think, was number 2. So first was banning, second was shadow banning. I think third, to me, was government collusion, government interference. So you released the Twitter files. Nothing like that had ever been done before, where you actually let investigative reporters go through Twitter's emails,
unfettered
chat
access.
groups.
I was not looking over their shoulder at all. They just had direct access to everything.
And they found that there was extensive collusion between the FBI and the Twitter Trust and Safety Group, where it turns out the FBI had 80 agents submitting takedown requests, and they were very involved in the banning, the shadow banning, the censorship, which I don't think we ever had definitive evidence of that before. That was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, and the U.S. House of Representatives had hearings on the matter, and a lot of this, was unearthed. It's public record. So a lot of people, some people on the left still think this is like made up. I'm like, this is just literally the Twitter files are literally the files at Twitter. I mean, we're literally just talking about these are the emails that were sent internally that confirm this. This is what's on the Slack channels, and this is what is shown on the Twitter database as where people have made either suspensions or shadow bans.
Has the government come and asked you to take stuff down since, or they just have to? The policy is, hey, listen, you got to file a warrant, you got to come correct, as opposed to just putting pressure on executives. Our policy at this point is to follow the law. So, if now the laws are obviously different in different countries. So sometimes, I get criticized for, like, why don't I push free speech in XYZ country that doesn't have free speech laws? I'm like, because that's not the law there. And if we don't obey the law, we'll simply be blocked in that country. The policy is really just adhere to the laws in any given country. It is not up to us to agree or disagree with those laws. And if the people of that country want laws to be different, then they should, ask their leaders to change the laws.
Yeah.
But anything but as soon as you start going beyond the law, now you're putting your thumb on the scale. I think that's the right policy, is just adhere to the laws within any given country. Now, sometimes we get, in a bit of a bind, like we got into with Brazil, where, this judge in Brazil was asking us to, or telling us to break the law in Brazil, and ban accounts contrary to the law of Brazil. And now we're somewhat stuck. We're like, wait a second, we're reading the law and it says this is not allowed to happen, and also and giving us a gag order. So, like, we're not allowed to say it's happening, and we have to break the law. And the judge is telling us to break the law. The law is breaking the law. That's where things get very difficult. And we were actually banned in Brazil for a while because of that.
I just want to make one final point on the free speech issue, and then we can move on. It's just, I think people forget that the censorship wasn't just about COVID. There was a growing number of categories of thought and opinion that were being outlawed. The, quote, content moderation, which is another Orwellian euphemism for censorship, was being applied to categories like gender and even climate change. The definition of hate speech was constantly growing.
Yes.
And more people were being banned or shadow banned, and there was more and more things that you couldn't say. This trend of censorship was growing, it was galloping, and it would have continued if it wasn't, I think, for the fact that you decided to buy Twitter and opened it up. And it was only on the heels of that the other social networks were willing to, I think, be a little bit chastened in their policies and start to push back more.
Yeah, that's right. once Twitter broke ranks, the others had to. It became very obvious what the others were doing, and so they had to mitigate their censorship substantially because of what Twitter did. And I mean, perhaps to give them some credit, they also felt that they had the air cover to be more inclined towards free speech. They still do a lot of sort of shadow banning and whatnot at the other social media companies, but it's much less than it used to be.
Yeah.
Elon, what have you seen in terms of like governments creating new laws? So we've seen a lot of this crackdown in the UK on what's being called hateful speech on social media, and folks getting arrested and actually going to prison over it. And it seems like when there's more freedom, the side that is threatened by that comes out and creates their own counter, right? There's a reaction to that, and there seems to be reaction. Are you seeing more of these laws around the world in response to your opening up free speech through Twitter and those changes and what they're enabling, that the governments and the parties that control those governments aren't aligned, and they're stepping in and saying, let's create new ways of maintaining our control through law?
There's been an overall global movement to suppress free speech under the name of under the guise of suppressing hate speech. But then it's the problem with that is that your freedom of speech only matters if people are allowed to say things that you don't like, or even things that you hate. Because if you're allowed to suppress speech that you don't like, then you don't have freedom of speech, and it's only a matter of time before things switch around, and then the shoe's on the other foot, and they will suppress you. So suppress not, lest ye be suppressed. But there is a movement, and there was a very strong movement to codify speech suppression into the law throughout the world, and including the Western world. Europe and Australia.
UK and Germany were very aggressive in this regard.
Yes, and my understanding is that in the UK, there's something like 2,000 or 3,000 people in prison for social media posts. And in fact, that there's so many people that were in prison for social media posts, and many of these things are like you can't believe that someone would actually be put in prison for this. They have in a lot of cases released people who have committed violent crimes in order to imprison people who have simply made posts on social media, which is deeply wrong. Mm-hmm. And underscores why the founders of this country made the First Amendment. The First Amendment was freedom of speech. Why did they do that? It's because in the places that they came from, there wasn't freedom of speech, and you could be imprisoned or killed for saying things.
Can I ask you a question just to maybe move to a different topic? If you came and did this next week, we will be past the Tesla board vote. We talked about it last week, and we talked about how crazy ISS and Glass Lewis is. And
right.
We used this one insane example where like Ira Ehrenpreis didn't get the recommendation from ISS and Glass Lewis because he didn't meet the gender requirements, but then Kathleen also didn't.
It doesn't make any sense.
Can you... So the board vote is on the 6th. So
who's an African American woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they recommended against her, but then also recommended against our enterprise on the grounds he was insufficiently diverse. So I'm like, these things don't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I do think we've got a fundamental issue with corporate governance in publicly traded companies, where you've got about half of the stock market is controlled by passive index funds. And most of them outsource their decision to advisory firms, and particularly Glass Lewis and ISS. I call them corporate ISIS. So all they do is basically they're just terrorists. So they own no stock in any of these companies.
Right.
So I think that there's a fundamental breakdown of fiduciary responsibility here, where really, any company that's managing, even though they're passively managing, index funds or whatever, that they do at the end of the day have a fiduciary duty to vote along the lines of what would maximize the shareholder returns, because people are counting on them. Like people, have say, have all their savings and say a 401k or something like that, and they're counting on the index funds to vote, do company votes in the direction that would ensure that their retirement savings do as well as possible. But the problem is, if that is then outsourced to ISS and Glass Lewis, which have been infiltrated by far left activists, because where far left, where basically political activists go, they go where the power is, and so effectively, Glass Lewis and ISS controlled the vote of half the stock market. Now, if you're a political activist, you know what a great place would be to go work? ISS and Glass Lewis, and they do. So my concern for the future, because this the Tesla thing is it's called sort of compensation, but really it's not about compensation. It's not like I'm going to go out and buy a yacht with it or something. It's just that if I'm going to build up Optimus and have all these robots out there, I need to make sure we do not have a Terminator scenario, and that I can maximize the safety of the robots, but I feel like I need to have something like a 25% vote, which is enough of a vote to have a strong influence, but not so much of a vote that I can't be fired if I go insane. So it's kind of, but my concern would be, creating this army of robots and then being fired for political reasons, because of ISS and Glass Lewis, declined to ISIS and Glass Lewis fire me effectively, or the activists at those firms fire me, even though I've done everything right.
Yeah,
that's my concern. Yeah, and then I cannot ensure the safety of the robots.
If you don't get that vote, if it doesn't go your way, it looks like it's going to, would you leave? I mean, is that even in the cards? I heard the board was very concerned about that.
Let's just say I'm not going to build a robot army if I can be easily kicked out by activist investors.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, and who is capable of running the 4 or 5 major product lines at Tesla? I mean, this is the madness of it. It's a very complex business. People don't understand what's under the hood there. It's not just a car company. You got batteries, you got trucks, you got the self-driving group. And this is a very complex business that's you've built over decades now. It's not a very simple thing to run. I don't think there's a Elon equivalent out there who can just jump into the cockpit.
By the way, if we take a full turn around Corporate Governance Corner, also this week, what was interesting about the OpenAI restructuring was I read the letter, and your lawsuit was excluded from the allowances of the California Attorney General, basically saying this thing can go through, which means that your lawsuit is still out there, right? And I think it's going to go to a jury trial.
Yes.
So that corporate governance thing is still very much in question. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I believe that will go to a jury trial in February or March, and then we'll see what the results are there. But there's a mountain of evidence that shows that OpenAI was created as an open source nonprofit. It's literally that's the exact description in the incorporation documents. And in fact, the incorporation documents explicitly say that no officer or founding member will benefit financially from OpenAI, and they've completely violated that. And moreover, you can just use the Wayback Machine and look at the website of OpenAI. Again, open source nonprofit, the whole way until it looked like, wow, there's a lot of money to be gained here, and then suddenly it starts changing. And they try to change the definition of OpenAI to mean open to everyone instead of open source, even though it always meant open source. I came up with the name.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
So if they open sourced it, or they gave you, I mean, you don't need the money, but if they gave you the percentage ownership in it that you would be rightfully which 50 million for a startup would be half at least. But they must have made an overture towards you and said, hey, can we just give you 10% of this thing and give us your blessing? Like, you obviously have a different goal here, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, since I came up with the idea for the company, named it, provided the A, B, and C rounds of funding, recruited the critical personnel, and told them everything I know. If that had been a commercial corporation, I'd probably own half the company. So, but I could have chosen to do that. It was totally at my discretion. I could have done that, but I created it as a nonprofit for the world, an open source nonprofit for the world.
Do you think the right thing to do is to take those models and just open source them today? If you could affect that change, is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, I think that is what it was created to do. So it should. I mean, the best open source models right now, actually, ironically, because Fate seems to be an irony maximizer. Mm-hmm. The best open source models are generally from China.
Yeah,
like that's bizarre. And then I think the second best one is, or maybe it's better than second best, but like the Grok 2.5 open source model is actually very good, and I think we'd probably be. And we'll continue to open source our models, but whereas like try using any of the recent so-called the OpenAI open source models, they're out, they don't work. They open sourced a broken, non-working version of their models as a fig leaf. I mean, do you know anyone who's running OpenAI's open source models? Exactly.
Yeah, nobody. We've had a big debate about jobs here. Obviously, there's going to be job displacement. You and I have talked about it for decades. What's your take on the pace of it? Because obviously, you're building self-driving software, you're building Optimus.
Yeah.
We're seeing Amazon take some steps here where they're like, yeah, we're probably not going to hire these positions in the future. And, maybe they're getting rid of people now because they were bloated, but maybe some of it's AI. It's all debatable. What do you think the timeline is? And what do you think as a society we're going to need to do to mitigate it if it goes too fast?
Well, I call AI the supersonic tsunami. So it's not the most comforting description in the world. But
it's fast and big.
If there was a tsunami, a giant wall of water moving faster than the speed of sound, that's AI.
When does it land?
Yeah, exactly. So now this is happening whether I wanted to or not. I actually try to slow down AI, by the way. And then the reason, the reason I wanted to create OpenAI was to serve as a counterweight to Google, because at the time Google was sort of essentially had unilateral power in AI. They had all the AI essentially, Larry Page was not. He was not taking AI's safety seriously. I mean, Jason, I'm sure, were you there when he called me a speciesist?
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
Okay, so
you were more concerned about the human race than you were about the machines, and you had a clear bias for humanity.
Yes, I was like, Larry, well, what? Like, we need to make sure that the AI doesn't destroy all the humans. And then he called me a speciesist, like a racist or something, for being pro human intelligence instead of machine intelligence. I'm like, well, Larry, what side are you on? I mean, that's kind of a concern. And then at the time, Google had essentially a monopoly on AI.
Yeah, they bought DeepMind, which you were on the board of, had an investment in. Larry and Sergey had invested in as well, and it's really interesting.
I found out about it because I told him about it. I showed him some stuff from DeepMind, and I think that's how he found out about it and acquired them. Actually, I got to be careful what I say. But the point is that it's like, look, Larry's not taking AI safety seriously. And Google had essentially all the AI and all the computers and all the money. And I'm like, this is a unipolar world where the guy in charge is not taking things seriously. So, and called me a speciesist. for being pro-human. What do you do in those circumstances?
Build a competitor.
Yes. So OpenAI was created essentially as the opposite, which is an open source nonprofit, the opposite of Google. Now, unfortunately, it needs to change its name to Closed for Maximum Profit AI.
Yeah.
For maximum profit, to be clear. The most amount of, they're currently going for the most amount of profit they could possibly get.
I mean,
it is like I said,
it's comical. I mean, when you hear Sam,
there's an irony maximizer. You have to say, like, what is the most ironic outcome for a company that was created to do open source, non-profit AI, is it's super closed source. It's tighter than Fort Knox. The OpenAI source code is locked up tighter than Fort Knox, and they are going for maximum profit, like a maximum. Like, get the bourbon, the steak knife, that
they're ready to. Yeah, I mean,
like they're going for the buffet. And they're just diving headfirst into the profit buffet. I mean, it's just, or at least aspiration, the revenue buffet, at least. Profit, we'll see.
I mean, it's like
ravenous wolves for revenue. Ravenous
revenue buffet.
No, it's literally like super villain. It's like Bond villain level flip. Like it went from being the United Nations to being Spectre in like James Bond land.
Yeah.
When you hear him say, when Sam says it's going to like raise 1.4 trillion to build out data centers.
But I think he means it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say audacious, but I wouldn't want to, insult the word.
Actually, I have a question about this.
How is that possible?
In the earnings call, you said something that was insane. And then I think the math actually nets up, but you said we could connect all the Teslas and allow them in downtime to actually offer up inference. And you can string them all together. I think the math is like, it could actually be like 100 gigawatts. Is that right?
So
Did you do?
If ultimately there's a Tesla fleet that is 100 million vehicles, which I think we probably will get to at some point, 100 million vehicle fleet. And they have, mostly state-of-the-art inference computers in them that each say are a kilowatt of inference compute. And they have built-in power and cooling, and connect to the Wi-Fi.
That's the key. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And you'd have 100 gigawatts of inference compute.
Elon, do you think that the architecture, like there was an attention-free model that came out the last week? There's been all of these papers, all of these new models that have been shown to reduce power per token of output by many, many, many orders of magnitude, like not just an order of magnitude, but like maybe 3 or 4. Like, what's your view and all the work you've been doing on where we're headed in terms of power per unit of compute or per token of output?
Well, we have a clear example of power efficient compute, which is the human brain. So our brains use about 20 watts of power, and of that, only about 10 watts is higher brain function. Most of it's, half of it is just housekeeping functions, keeping your heart going and breathing and that kind of thing. So you've got maybe 10 watts of higher brain function in a human. And we've managed to build civilization with 10 watts of a biological computer. And that biological computer has like a 20-year, boot sequence. So it's pretty slow. But it's very power efficient. So given that humans are capable of inventing, general relativity and quantum mechanics, and or discovering general relativity, like inventing aircraft, lasers, the internet, and discovering physics with a 10-watt meat computer, essentially, then there's clearly a massive opportunity for improving the efficiency of AI compute. It's because it's currently many orders of magnitude away from that, and it's still the case that a 100 megawatt or even a gigawatt AI supercomputer at this point can't do everything that a human can do. It will be able to, but it can't yet. But but like I said, we've got this obvious case of human brains being very power efficient and achieving and building civilization with 10 watts of compute, and a very slow, and our bandwidth is very low. So the speed at which we communicate information to each other is extremely low. We're not communicating at a terabit. We're communicating more at like 10 bits per second.
Do you think that there's
that should naturally lead you to the conclusion that there's massive opportunity for being more power efficient with AI, and at Tesla and at XAI, we continue to see massive improvements in inference compute efficiency. Yeah.
You think that there's a moment where you would justify stopping all the traditional cars and just going completely all in on cybercab if you felt like the learning was good enough and that the system was safe enough? Is there ever a moment like that, or do you think you'll always kind of dual track and always do both?
I mean, all of the cars we make right now are capable of being a robotaxi. So there's a little confusion of the terminology because our cars look normal. Like the Model 3 or Model Y looks, it's a good looking car, but it looks normal. But it has an advanced AI computer and advanced AI software and cameras. And we didn't want the cameras to stick out, so we so that we didn't want them to be ugly or stick out. So we put them, they're sort of in unobtrusive locations. The forward-looking cameras are in front of the rearview mirror. The side view mirrors are in the side repeaters. The side view cameras are on the side repeaters. The rear camera is just in the above the license plate. Actually, typically where the rear view camera is in a car, and the diagonal forward ones are in the B pillars. Like if you look closely, you can see all the cameras, but you have to look closely. We just didn't want them to stick out like warts or something. But actually, all the cars we make are hyper intelligent and have the cameras in the right places. They just look normal. So all of the cars we make are capable of unsupervised full autonomy. Now we have a dedicated product, which is the Cybercab, which has no steering wheel or pedals, which are obviously vestigial in an autonomous world. And we start production of the Cybercab in Q2 next year. And we'll scale that up to quite high volume. I think ultimately we'll make millions of Cybercabs per year. But it is important to emphasize that all of our cars are capable of being robotic taxis.
The Cybercab is gorgeous. I told you I'd buy 2 of those if you put a steering wheel in them. And there is a big movement
We're not
online.
putting a steering wheel in.
People are begging for it. Why not? Why not let us buy a couple? Just the first ones off the line and drive them. I mean, they look great. It's like the perfect model. You always had a vision for a Model 2, right? Like, isn't it like the perfect Model 2 in addition to being a Cybercab?
Look, the reality is people may think they want to drive their car, but the reality is that they don't. How many times have you been, say, in an Uber or Lyft, and you said, you know what, I wish I could take over from the driver, and I wish I could get off my phone and take over from the Uber driver and drive to my destination. How many times have you thought that to yourself?
No, it's quite the opposite.
0.0 times. Okay.
I have the Model Y, and I just got 14. I have Juniper, and I got the 14.1, and I put it on Mad Max mode the last couple of days. That is
Mad Max mode
a unique experience. I was like, wait a second, this thing is driving in a very unique fashion. Yeah.
It assumes you want to get to your destination in a hurry.
Yeah. I used to give cab drivers an extra $20 to do that.
Medical appointment or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But it feels like it's getting very close, but you have to be very careful. Uber had a horrible accident with the safety driver. Cruise had a terrible accident. It wasn't their fault exactly, except, that somebody got hit and then they hit the person a second time and they got dragged.
Yeah.
There's pretty high stakes. So you're being extremely cautious.
The car is actually extremely capable right now.
Yeah.
But we are being extremely cautious and we're being paranoid about it because, to your point, even one accident would be headline news. Well, probably worldwide headline news.
especially if it's a Tesla. Like Waymo, I think gets a bit of a pass. I think there's half the country or a number of people probably would, go extra hard on you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Not everyone in the press is my friend.
I hadn't noticed.
Some of them are a little antagonistic.
Yeah. So you just, but people are pressuring you to go fast. And I think everybody's got to just take their time with this thing. It's obviously going to happen, but I just get very nervous that the pressure to put these things on the road faster than they're ready is just a little crazy. So I applaud you for putting the safety monitor in, doing the safety driver. No shame in the safety driver game. It's so much the right decision, obviously, but people are criticizing you for it. I think it's dumb. It's the right thing to do.
Yes, and we do expect it to not have any sort of safety occupant or it's not really a driver that just sits
monitor.
Safety monitor just sits. They just sit in the car and don't do anything.
Safety dude.
Yeah. But we do expect that the cars will be driving around without any safety monitor before the end of the year. So sometime in December.
In Austin, yeah. I mean, you got a number of reps under your belt in Austin, and it feels like pretty well. You guys have done a great job figuring out where the trouble spots are. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what you learned in the first, I don't know, it's been like 3 or 4 months of this so far. What did you learn in the first 3 or 4 months of the Austin experiment?
Actually, it's gone pretty smoothly. A lot of things that we're learning are just how to manage a fleet. Like because you've got to write all the fleet management software, right? So
yeah.
And you've got to write the ride-hailing software. You've got to write basically the software that Uber has. You've got to write that software. It's just summoning a robot car instead of a car with a driver. So a lot of the things we're doing, we're scaling up the number of cars to say like, what happens if you have 1,000 cars? Like, so we think probably we'll have 1,000 cars or more in the Bay Area by the end of this year. Probably, I don't know, 500 or more in the greater Austin area. And if you have to make sure the cars don't all, for example, go to the same supercharger at the same time, right? Or don't all go to the same intersection. It's like, what do these cars do? And then like sometimes there's high demand and sometimes there's low demand. What do you do during those times? Do you have the car circle the block? Do you have it try to find a parking space? And then sometimes like say it's a disabled parking space or something, but the writing's faded or the thing's faded. The car's like, oh look, a parking space, will jump right in there. And it's like,
get a ticket.
You got to look carefully, make sure it's like it's not an illegal parking space. Or it sees a space to park and it's like ridiculously tight, but it's like, oh, I can get in there. But with like 3 inches on either side.
Bad computer.
Yeah, technically true. But nobody else will be able to get in the car if you do that. So there's just like all these oddball corner cases, and
regulators are all very they have different levels of persnicketiness and regulations depending on the city, depending on the airport. I mean, it's just very different everywhere. That's going to just be a lot of blocking and tackling, and it just takes time.
Elon, can I ask you another?
Like in order to take people to San Jose Airport, like San Jose, you actually have to connect to San Jose Airport servers. And because you have to pay a fee every time you turn off, so the car actually has to do a remote call. The robot car has to do a remote procedure call to San Jose Airport servers to say I'm dropping someone off at the airport and charge me whatever $5, which is like there are all these like quirky things like that. The like airports are somewhat of a racket. So that's like, we had to solve that thing, but it's kind of funny that the robot car is like calling the server, the airport server to charge its credit card or whatever, drop someone off.
It's to send a fax. Yeah, we're going to be dropping off at this time.
But it will soon become extremely normal to see cars going around with no one in them.
Yeah.
Extremely normal.
On just before we lose you, I want to ask if you saw the Bill Gates memo that he put out. A lot of people are talking about this memo. I
guess want to say Billy G is not my love.
Oh man!
Did climate change become woke? Did it become woke? And is it over being woke? What happened? And what happened with Billy G? I mean,
short Tesla.
Great question. Great question.
Yeah.
You think that someone like Bill Gates, who clearly started a technology company that's one of the biggest companies in the world, Microsoft, you think he'd be really quite, strong in the sciences. But actually, my at least direct conversations with him have he is not strong in the sciences. This is really surprising. He came to visit me at the Tesla Gigafactory in Austin, and was telling me that it's impossible to have a long-range semi truck. And I was like, well, but we literally have them. And you can drive them, and Pepsi is literally using them right now. And you can drive them yourself, or send someone. Obviously, Bill Gates not going to drive himself, but you can send a trusted person to drive the truck and verify that it can do the things that we say it's doing. And he's like, no, it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay. I'm kind of stuck there. Then I was like, well, so it must be that you disagree with the watt hours per kilogram of the battery pack, so that you must think that perhaps we can't achieve the energy density of the battery pack, or that the watt hours per mile of the truck is too high, and that when you combine those two numbers, the range is low. And so which one of those numbers do you think we have wrong? And what numbers do you think are correct? And he didn't know any of the numbers. And I'm like, well, then doesn't it seem that it's perhaps premature to conclude that a long-range semi cannot work if you do not know the energy density of the battery pack or the energy efficiency of the truck chassis?
But yeah, he's now taken a 180 on climate. He's saying maybe this shouldn't be the top priority.
Climate is gay.
It's just,
why would he say climate is gay? That's wrong.
It's totally retarded.
Why would Bill Gates say that climate is gay and retarded? Come on.
Maybe he's got some data centers he's got to put up. Does he have to stand up a data center for Sam Altman or something? I don't know. What is Azure? I don't know. He changed his position. I can't figure out why.
I mean, the reality of the whole climate change thing is that you've just had sort of people who say it doesn't exist at all, and then people who say are super alarmist and saying Rard is going to be underwater in 5 years. And obviously, neither of those two positions are true. The reality is you can measure the carbon concentration in the atmosphere. Again, you could just literally buy a CO2 monitor from Amazon. It's like $50, and you can measure it yourself. And you can say, okay, well, look, the parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere has been increasing steadily at 2 to 3 per year. At some point, if you continue to take billions, eventually trillions of tons of carbon from deep underground and transfer it to the atmosphere and oceans, so you transfer it from deep underground into the surface cycle, you will change the chemical constituency of the atmosphere and oceans. You just literally will. Then now you can say, argue to what degree and over what time scale. And the reality is that, in my opinion, is that we've got at least 50 years before it's a serious issue. I don't think we've got 500 years, but we've probably got 50. It's not 5 years. So if you're trying to get to the right order of magnitude of accuracy, I'd say the concern level for climate change is on the order of 50 years. It's definitely not 5. and I think it probably isn't 500. So really, the right course of action is actually just the reasonable course of action, which is to lean in the direction of sustainable energy, and lean in the direction of solar and of a sort of a solar battery future, and generally have the rules of the system lean in that direction. I don't think we need massive subsidies, but then we also shouldn't have massive subsidies for the oil and gas industry. Okay, so the oil and gas industry has massive tax write-offs that they don't even think of as subsidies, because these things have been in place for, in some cases, 80 years, but they're not there for other industries. So when you've got special tax conditions that are in one industry and not another industry, I call that a subsidy. Obviously, it is. But they've taken it for granted for so long in oil and gas that they don't think of it as a subsidy. So the right course of action, of course, is to remove, in my opinion, subsidies from all industries. But the political reality is that the oil and gas industry is very strong in the Republican Party, but not in the Democratic Party. So you will not see, obviously, even the tiniest subsidy being removed from the oil, gas, and coal industry. In fact, there were some that were added to the oil, gas, and coal industry in the sort of big bill, and there were a massive number of sustainable energy incentives that were removed. Some of which I agreed with, by the way. Some of the incentives have gone too far. But anyway, the actual, I think, the correct scientific conclusion, in my opinion, and I think one can back this up with solid reasoning. Ask Grok, for example, is that we should lean in the direction of moving towards a sustainable energy future. We will eventually run out of oil, gas, and coal to burn anyway, because there's a finite amount of that stuff, and we will eventually have to go to something that lasts a long time that is sustainable.
But to your point about the irony of things, it seems to be the case that making energy with solar is cheaper than making energy with some of these carbon-based sources today. And so the irony is it's already working. I mean, the market is moving in that direction. And this notion that we need to kind of force everyone into a model of behavior, it's just naturally going to change because we've got better systems. You and others have engineered better systems that make these alternatives cheaper, and therefore they're winning. Like they're actually winning in the market, which is great. But they can't win if there are subsidies to support the old systems, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, there are actually massive disincentives for solar because China is a massive producer of solar panels. China does an incredible job of solar panel manufacturing, really incredible. They have roughly 1.5 terawatts of solar production right now. And they're only using 1 terawatt per year. But by the way, that's a gigantic number. The average U.S. power consumption is only 0.5 terawatt. So just think about that for a second. China's solar panel production max capacity is 1.5 terawatts per year. U.S. steady state power usage is 0.5 terawatt. Now, you do have to reduce. You say to produce 1.5 terawatts a year of solar, you need to add that with batteries, take into account the differences between night and day, the fact that the solar panel is not always pointed directly at the sun, that kind of thing. So you can divide by 5-ish to say that, but that still means that China has the ability to produce solar panels that have a steady state output that is roughly 2/3 that of the entire U.S. economy from all sources, which means that just with solar alone, China can, in 18 months, produce enough solar panels to power the United States, all the electricity of the United States.
What do you think about near-field solar, aka nuclear?
I'm in favor of make energy from any way you want that isn't like obviously harmful to the environment. Generally, people don't welcome a nuclear reactor in their backyard. They're not like championing. Put
it here. Put it under my bed.
Put it
on my roof.
Yeah. If your next door neighbor said, hey, I'm selling my house and they're putting a reactor there. What would the typical homeowner response will be negative. Very few people will embrace a nuclear reactor adjacent to their house. But nonetheless, I do think nuclear is actually very safe. There's a lot of scaremongering and propaganda around fission. If you talk about fission, but fission is actually very safe. They obviously have this on, the Navy, U.S. Navy has this on submarines and aircraft carriers, and with people really walking right. I mean, a submarine's a pretty crowded place, and they have a nuclear-powered submarine. So I think fission's fine as an option. The regulatory environment makes it very difficult to actually get that done. And then it is important to appreciate just the sheer magnitude of the power of the sun. So here are some just important basic facts. Even Wikipedia has these facts right. So you don't even have you can go to Grokpedia,
you don't have to use Grokpedia.
Get the best answer, but even Wikipedia has.
Yeah, even Wikipedia got it right.
Yes. I'm saying even Wikipedia's got these facts right. Yeah. The sun is about 99.8% of the mass of the solar system. Then Jupiter is about 0.1%, and then everything else is in the remaining 0.1%, and we are much less than 0.1%. If you burnt all of the mass of the solar system, okay, then the total energy produced by the sun would still round up to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just burnt Earth, the whole planet, and burnt Jupiter, which is very big and quite challenging to burn, turn Jupiter into a thermonuclear reactor, it wouldn't matter. The sun, compared to the sun is 99.8% of the mass of the solar system, and everything else is in the miscellaneous category. So, basically, no matter what you do, total energy produced in our solar system rounds up to 100% from the sun. You could even throw another Jupiter in there. So we're going to snag a Jupiter from somewhere else and somehow teleport. You could teleport 2 more Jupiters into our solar system, burn them, and the sun would still round up to 100%. As long as you're at 99.6%, you're still rounding up to 100%. Maybe that gives some perspective of why solar is really the thing that matters. And as soon as you start thinking about things at sort of a grander scale, like Kardashev scale 2 civilizations, it becomes very, very obvious. It's like, I'm not saying anything that's new, by the way. Like anyone who studies physics has known this for a very long time. In fact, Kardashev, I think, was a Russian physicist who came up with this idea, I think, in the 60s, just as a way to classify civilizations. Where Kardashev scale 1 would be you've harnessed most of the energy of the planet. Kardashev scale 2, you've harnessed most of the energy of your sun. Kardashev 3, you've harnessed most of the energy of galaxy. Now we're only about 1% or a few percent of Kardashev scale 1 right now, optimistically. But as soon as you go to Kardashev scale 2, where you're talking about the power of the sun, then you're really just saying everything is solar power, and the rest is in the noise. So the sun produces about 1 billion times, or call it well over 1 billion times more energy than everything on Earth combined.
It's crazy. It's mind blowing.
Right.
Yeah. Solar's the obvious solution to all this. And short term,
Yum,
have to use some of these other sources, but hey, there it is. An hour and a half with Elon Musk.
Star powered. Like maybe we got a branding issue here.
Yeah. Star powered.
Instead of solar powered, it's starlight.
Starlight. Perfect.
It's the power of a blazing sun. A how much energy does an entire star have?
Yeah.
Well,
More
our sun
than
is a
enough.
star.
More than enough. All
More
right.
than enough. That's for sure. And also, you really need to keep the power local. So sometimes people, honestly, I've had these discussions so many times. It's where they say, "Well, would you beam the power back to Earth?" I'm like, "Do you want to melt Earth?"
Yeah.
Because you would melt Earth if you did that. Yeah. We'd be vaporized in an instant. So you really need to keep the power local. Basically distributed power, and I guess most of it we use for intelligence. So it's like the future is like a whole bunch of solar powered AI satellites.
But Elon, the only thing that makes the star work is it just happens to have a lot of mass, so it has that gravity to ignite the fusion reaction, right? But like we could ignite the fusion reaction on Earth now. I don't know, like if your view has changed. I think we talked about this a couple of years ago, where you were pretty like, we don't know if or when fusion becomes real here, but theoretically we could take 10.
No, I want to be clear. Yeah. My opinion on I studied physics in college. At one point in high school, I was thinking about a career in physics. One of my sons actually is doing a career in physics. But the problem is I came to the conclusion is that I'd be waiting for a collider or a telescope. I don't have any to get that collider career in physics, but I have a strong interest in the subject. So my opinion on, say, creating a fusion reactor on Earth is I think this is actually not a hard problem. Actually, I mean, it's a little hard. I mean, it's not like totally trivial, but if you just scale up a tokamak, the bigger you make it, the easier the problem gets. So you've got a surface volume ratio thing where you're trying to maintain a really hot core while having a wall that doesn't melt. So that's a similar problem with rocket engines. You've got a super hot core in the rocket engine, but you don't want the walls, the chamber walls of the rocket engine to melt. So you have a temperature gradient where it's very hot in the middle, and it gradually gets cold enough as you get to the perimeter, as you get to the the chamber walls in the rocket engine, where it doesn't melt because you've lowered the temperature and you've got a temperature gradient. So if you just scale up, the donut reactor, tokamak, and improve your surface volume ratio, it becomes much easier. And you can absolutely, in my opinion, I think just anyone who looks at the math, you can make a reactor that generates more energy than it consumes. And the bigger you make it, the easier it is. And in the limit, you just have a giant gravitationally contained thermonuclear reactor like the sun. So, which requires no maintenance and it's free. So this is also why would we bother doing that on making a little itty bitty sun that's so microscopic you could barely notice on Earth when we've got the giant free one in the sky?
Yeah, but we only get a fraction of 1% of that energy on the planet Earth. We have to go
much less than 1%. Yeah.
Right. So we've got to figure out how to wrap the sun if we're going to harness that energy. That's our long term.
If people want to have fun with reactors, that's fine. Have fun with reactors. But it's not a serious endeavor compared to the sun. It's sort of a fun. It's a fun science project to make a thermonuclear reactor, but it's not. It's just peanuts compared to the sun. And even the solar energy that does reach Earth is a gigawatt per square kilometer, or roughly, call it 2.5 gigawatts per square mile. So that's a lot, and the commercially available panels are around 26% efficiency, and maybe, you can and then you say, like, if you pack it densely, you get an 80% packing density. You're going to, which I think, you in a lot of places you could get an 80% packing density. You effectively have about, 200 megawatts per square kilometer. And you need to pair that with batteries so you have continuous power. Although our power usage drops considerably at night, so you need less batteries than you think. And doesn't
the question then become
a rough way to maybe an easy number to remember is a gigawatt hour per square kilometer per day is a roughly correct number.
But then doesn't your technical challenge become the scalability of manufacturing of those systems? So, accessing the raw materials and getting them out of the ground of planet Earth to make enough of them to get to that sort of scale and that volume that you're talking about. And as you kind of think about what it would take to get to that scale, like, do we have an ability to do that with what we have today? Like, can we pull that much material out of the ground?
Yes, solar panels are made of silicon, which is sand, essentially.
I guess more on the battery side, but
the battery side, yeah. So on the battery side, the like iron phosphate, lithium ion battery cells. There's Earth. I'd like to throw out some like interesting factoids here. If most people don't know, if you said as measured by mass, what is the biggest element? What is Earth made of, as measured by mass? Actually, it's iron.
Iron.
Iron. Yeah, we're I think 32% iron, 30% oxygen, and then everything else is in the remaining percentage. So we're basically a rusty ball bearing. That's Earth, and with a lot of silicon at the surface in the form of sand. And the iron phosphate, so iron phosphate lithium ion cells, iron, extremely common, most common element on Earth, even in the crust. And then phosphorus is also very common. And then the anode is carbon, but also very common. And then lithium is also very common. So there's actually, you can do the math. In fact, we did the math and published the math, but nobody looked at it. It's on the Tesla website. That shows that you can completely power Earth with solar panels and batteries, and there's no shortage of anything.
All right. So on that note, go get to work, Elon, and just power the Earth while you're getting implants into people's brains and satellites and other good fun stuff. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Stop by anytime.
Thanks for doing this.
You got the Zoom link. Stop by anytime.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you for liberating free speech 3 years ago.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
that was a very important milestone.
And I see all you guys are in just different places. I guess this is a very virtual situation.
It's always been that.
I'm at the ranch. Sax is on the
Are you ever in the same room?
Nope.
We try not to be.
Only when we do. Only when we do that summit. But otherwise, we avoid each other.
We're in the same room.
Otherwise, your summit is pretty fun. We had a great time recounting SNL sketches that didn't make it.
Oh God, there's just so many good ones. I mean, we didn't even get to the Jeopardy ones.
Yeah.
Those were so offensive.
Well, I think we skipped a few that would have dramatically increased our probability of being killed.
We can take this one out.
Boys, I love you. I love you.
Right.
I love you all.
Guys.
I'm going to poker.
Later.
Take care.
All right.
Later.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Love you.
We'll let your winners ride.
Rain Man David Sack.
And instead, we open source it to the fans, and they've just gone crazy with it.
Love you, West. The Queen of Quinoa. Besties are back.
That is my dog taking a notice in your driveway. Oh, man.
My haberdasher will meet me at Flintstone. We should all just get a room and just have one big huge orgy because they're all just useless. It's like this sexual tension that they just need to release somehow.
Wet your beak. Wet your beak.
We need to get merch. Besties are back.
I'm going all in.